All right, everybody. We are here live on Sunday afternoon in the extremely hot desert in the summertime of Phoenix, Arizona. We're coming to you live. So whatever happens, happens. And I also notice that whenever these live stream happens, why is it the person sitting here always has to use the restroom at the wrong time? First order of business here, which I'm sure you're going to want to know about before we get on our way here, is we did not make our goal. Shame on you guys. We just wanted a paltry goal of $15,000. We did not make it. However, you do have a chance to make up for it by adding some more of your hard-earned cash to the Kickstarter, which you can read about online. The producers here are nodding their heads, all 20 of them. We're going to be doing some new videos here. We got a new schedule going here to help promote the stuff that is going to help pay me for continuing the work on what I want to be working on, which is Nexus. Specifically, in this case, it's the Battle for Thune World. And I think all of you have been tuning in, have seen some of the results of the 100 or so pages that I've been working on, which is remarkably coming along well. Most of it, the entire script is done. The pencils have all been done. And a lot of the inking has been done. So we're just rolling along here well. And what I want to do is hopefully sustain myself with your donations so I can finish this thing right here. Some of the ideas we've been coming up with, me and the staff, for YouTube things, and I guess this TikTok stuff that's so big nowadays, is influences. One of the themes that we're working on is the influences that I've had throughout my life. And that's always fun to talk about because obviously I know what my influences are. So upcoming are going to be, or rather the things we've already done that you might have seen on YouTube already, is one of them is Jim Steranko. The other is, of course, Jack Kirby. You know, there's always somebody that knows nothing about these guys. I, of course, know about them. People my age all know about them because we grew up with them, and they were the most prominent people in the field at the time. Jim Steranko was the hottest thing in comic books and during the late 60s. Jack Kirby was the latest thing in comics for the last 50 years, always. So he began his career in the 1930s, and he kept on going throughout the 80s. So you talk about career longevity, you have no further than to look up the name Jack Kirby. If you look up in the dictionary genius, you will no doubt see Einstein, Isaac Newton, Copernicus, and Jack Kirby. A couple things I want to show you here today. But before I do that, yeah, so the idea of the themes going on here, that's going to be one of them, is the influences thing. The others are going to be how-tos, because I think there's a lot of people that are interested in how people do things. Now, as I've noted, especially on YouTube and all these other, whatever they call them, these platforms, streaming platforms, is that there are hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands of these people out there doing these tutorials on how to, which is ironic because there was a time when guys my age were growing up, and obviously we didn't have any of these things. You go back another 100 years and nobody had anything of these things. And yet these are the guys that we revere because they were the best. So how did these guys achieve their expertise and their brilliance without any of the things that we have today? Good question, huh? And speaking of questions, remember last week how I asked you what the first alcoholic drink I started off with in bars to be cool around the girls and prove myself that I could drink with the best of them, which never really turned out too well. Well, we answered that question. Nobody got the answer right, so nobody got a free sketch from me, but we're going to be doing another one of those questions later on today, so get ready for that. I think that's going to be a standard feature going on in these live broadcasts, just to keep things lively here. I'm also going to be taking you around to the different stations, which most of you know about. I've got setups here in this gigantic studio here that I'm sure are the envy of most artists, especially the ones that are starting off. You know how it goes. You're set up in a room barely bigger than a closet, and if you want to draw something, you draw something. If you want to paint something, you've got to move all the drawing materials out of the way and set that up for the painting materials. If you want to do watercolor, you've got to move all the oil materials out of the way and set your watercolors up. Well, that's the way it is with everyone. That's the way I started off, and that's probably how a lot of you are doing things right now. So, so these tips that come in from people like myself, they're fun to do to a point. You know, I don't want to do things so basic that it's something that 100 other people on YouTube are already doing. You know, let those guys cover that stuff. I'm talking to the people that are already well on their way, that are well on their way to becoming geniuses. So, or what I call black belts. So you black belts, line up, put your gis on, and wait for some of the videos I'll be coming out with, and we'll be going from there. Okay. We have a question. Is it from Argentina?
No, but somebody else said hello from Ireland.
From Ireland. Oh, very good.
Someone said they bought the Superman Space Age #1 cover. It was beautiful. And how is Marvel or DC not having you do a monthly book or a graphic novel?
Yeah, okay. So I've been told by the producers of this series here that I have to repeat the questions. So from Ireland, probably coming from one of the local bars, we've got a guy asking, he saw the DC Space Age book that just came out that was written and drawn by Mike Allred. And I happened to do the cover for it. He liked the cover, and he wanted to know why Marvel wasn't taking advantage of me in doing a monthly book. Well, if you've seen how Marvel has been conducting itself recently and the kind of books they've been doing, does that really need to go any further than that? Me and Marvel, and the way they've been doing their books nowadays, which is basically transforming every hero they ever had into the opposite of what they were intended to be, just to gain the audience of people that, let's just say, they're minorities. That's not really something I think they should be hiring me for. Although there are plenty of people that probably are itching to get the chance to work for a company that offers them work like that. So really they should be staying with a crowd that is probably meant to be working for those kind of subject matters. Me, I'm probably not the right guy for it. I also have much more fun working for the people at DC. Another phenomenon that goes on in the life of a creator is something that happened to me within the last couple of years. I was dealing with the people at Marvel, and I actually offered them a chance to do what this guy from Ireland is writing in about, and that is a chance to do a monthly book. So I offered them a chance to do a throwback type comic book, say in the league of the old Tales of Suspense comic with Captain America. You know, this stuff I grew up with and loved. So it would be under a separate imprint, and I would bring things back to the way I used to love and read comics for. And I was told they had a boardroom meeting, and one of them said, "Well, is he anything like Todd McFarlane?" So that's the extent to which their history of comics recedes. I told them, thanks, but no thanks. So what happens to everybody in their career at some point? Does it bother me? Not really. I've got plenty to do in the meantime. My life, as you guys know, is basically devoted to Nexus. And that's where I'm going to be, and that's where I'm going to stay. And that's what I love to be doing right now. And I'm just going to keep doing it as long as my faculties hold out, my brain stays whatever it is right now. I do find myself starting to forget a few things, which to my embarrassment, but for the most part, it's the scripting that is the hardest part. The scripting can go on for, actually it's still going on. I write, I rewrite, and I rewrite. I've probably gone through 12 versions of the current script that I'm working on, and every time I do that and find ways to challenge myself to figure out more of the backstory of certain characters that are in this particular issue, you learn incredible amounts that you didn't know before. So it's really kind of an end that goes on forever. It's kind of like a black hole. Moving on from that, I did a couple recent pieces right here, which I would like to show you. I took this Marilyn Monroe reference. Everyone knows that I like Marilyn. She's my second favorite blonde. And I turned it into a Sandra Peel piece. Now, if you guys don't know who Sandra Peel, that's Nexus's girlfriend. They had a baby together. We call him Harry. And I adapt the piece into a watercolor piece. And that's the way this one turned out right here. These are actually just exercises for me to have fun. So in between things on the weekend, or I just want to relax from the hardcore work of scripting the Nexus books or lettering or inking or whatever. I do these as relaxation exercises, and they're a lot of fun. So that's one of them right there. The other one is I'm always trying to, Mike Barron is my partner. He always will be. He's the hardest working guy I know, and he just is so devoted to his various causes. And one of them he's recently been very successful with is a book that I haven't read yet. I don't even know if it's out, but it's a book called The Thin Blue Line, and it's written by Barron and it's illustrated by a real life cop. So I expect the authenticity is quite high in that book. Another book that he's invented and come out with is called Private American, and wouldn't you know it, Barron's birthday came up and I just couldn't help myself. So this is the cover I ended up doing for him. This is Private American, and he's having fun with a few terrorists. He's doing his job as a private American. This painting here was done. This is actually smaller than I normally work right here. This is done on Crescent illustration board. Something that probably needs improvement from the years past of how they made this stuff. Typical of most art supplies. This was done on a paint made by the Golden Company called So Flat. I don't call it So Flat. They call it So Flat. I call it So Smooth. But if you're looking for something in the stores, look for the So Flat. Okay, don't go by So Smooth. That's just what I call it. So that's the way it turned out. Let's do some close-up work right here so you can see all the little things I put into it. This painting was a lot of fun. There were no what do I say? How would I call it? There were no moments of hesitation or pausing or I had to stop and think about it, or I did my little rough for it and then I just went for it. I took some photo reference of myself now that I've lost about 1 billion pounds. Here's some close-ups of the Sandra Peel painting right here. This is done on watercolor paper. This is Fabriano watercolor paper. It's 300 pound, which means it's kind of thick. That's all it really means. It's 15 by 22. And it's painted with transparent watercolor and opaque watercolor. The entire chest area is almost all opaque. Most of the face is transparent. So I always intermix these two things. And it seems to work out okay. A lot of times you can't even tell the difference. I can, and a lot of artists can, but that's just the way I tend to work right here. So let's move on to some of the other stations here I promised to mention to you. One thing I want to talk about is more of the show, the animated Nexus show. And I started thinking about this because when you don't have an actual show and you're counting on an actual show, you do a lot of thinking about preparation work. And one of the things that I noticed that's the shortcoming and the downfall of a lot of TV shows is the fact that they start off really strong and they have this air of mystery to them. And then they kind of get, what's the word I'm looking for here? This is the brain thing I was talking about right here. They kind of get too familiar. The whole setting of the show becomes kind of commonplace rather than a sense of this kind of a sense of danger that shows that are just starting off are more unfamiliar to us than familiar. When they start getting familiar, they kind of lose their edge a little bit. And so let's go over to I'm going to bring over to the actual animation desk right here and show you. I'm going to show you the drawing that I actually did right here. What you guys just saw right here. This is the actual drawing right here. Can you guys see that? That's the drawing that I did of Nexus. This is a demonstration, just because it's fun. This is what is capable when you memorize things right here. I think last week I scolded you guys for being afraid of using reference. Now, the only reason I can do this right here is because I've studied reference for the last 40 years. I could never do this if I haven't studied gobs and gobs of reference. So whether you study from books, you do it from real life, that's a form of reference. You're looking at something there. But you're not capable of drawing things out of your head unless you have a photographic memory, which is probably not something you really want. Imagine having that, you'd probably go insane. But that's the only way to learn how to draw these things, is through repetition. But I'm told that's kind of a thing nowadays with the youth of today. The youth of today, they're looking at using reference as a crutch of some kind. Well, does that surprise anyone? Young people are always doing the stupidest things imaginable, and this is just another one of those right here. So let's move on from the animation desk. And come on, crew, let's follow me over here. We're now going over to the oil painting area. And this is going to be one of these things that I'm going to be showing eventually as a YouTube video. There's always someone that no matter how many oil painting videos I put out, they still need to be more familiarized with the process of oil painting. It took me years to get familiar with the process of using oil paint. It's a very, it's like anything else. It just takes years. I don't know why it takes years, but it does. It took me years to go from a 24-year-old trying to learn oil paint for the first time to someone who is finally graced and gifted with the knowledge that I can probably step into it at any given time and know where I'm going with it. So we're going to save this for the eventuality of putting it on a YouTube video. The blue you see here was actually not put in by me. It was put in by this very lovely model that came over yesterday, who is going to be posing for something that we're going to be moving over here that I'm going to be telling you about in a second. She's never worked with oil paint before, but she's always wanted to learn how to paint. But she's got that syndrome. What syndrome am I talking about? She's got the syndrome of I'm not good enough, I'm afraid to try it, I'm afraid of making mistakes. You know, all the crap that you young guys are always afraid of. So the idea is to take those fears and abolish them. And if you come under the tutelage of a good teacher, I would like to think that those teachers can eventually reduce those fears to a very minuscule amount and make these things that start off as very intimidating and make them fun, which is what art is supposed to be in the first place, isn't it? When you think about it. So let's move over here. This is the model that I'm going to be painting for something that's coming up next week at Atomic Comics in Arizona, in Southern Phoenix, is it, Mr. Producer? I think so. It's in Gilbert, and from where I live to Gilbert is a good day trip. No, it's actually just a couple hours, but we're going to be doing this demonstration for them at 6 o'clock at night, and it's free. I made sure there's going to be some of the finest hors d'oeuvres recruited throughout the nation at the little banquet we'll be having. Root beer, of course. You guys know about my thing for root beer. And this is how I blocked it in right here. So from here, I'm going to half finish this painting. What camera am I supposed to look at? Is it camera A or camera B?
It's both of them.
It's both of them. Okay, good. So no matter where I look, I'm gonna be looking at you guys. Okay. This is the paper that I'm working on is actually sanded paper right here. There's a lot of pastelists that favor sanded paper. It's a little rough in the fingers if you want to go like this a lot, but this is very low key kind of stuff. But I want to show you some of the things here. You know, people on YouTube never talk about if you make a mistake, what do you do? Well, let's get that started right away, okay? If you mess up in something, this is a little hard to this paper is a little harsher than I would think, but if I want to change something, I erase it. You erase it like you do everything. If you want to erase something on canvas with oil paint, you take your egg and you wipe it out. Well, this thing right here, I see that neck coming out a lot farther. And this is an upshot, so I want to get that going on. Okay, so that's kind of what I want. This is the model is actually posing for this what do they call her? This Super Gwen or Ghost Gwen or Spider Gwen. That's it. Obviously not part of my youth, but she's popular today. And this really sweet girl came over and she has a Spider Gwen costume on. So in order to entertain people and not bore them, you have to be a showman and you have to put on a show for these people. So on top of the root beer and the imported hors d'oeuvres, I'm going to be doing a demonstration for all these people that are going to show up and hopefully entertain them and show them a little bit about how a pro artist goes about doing things that are impossible for Steve Rude, who is 20 years old, but is very possible for a 65-year-old Steve Rude. So that's the way it starts off right there. Boy, that's really messy right there. But you guys know all about that. I changed the leg position, you know, as I was drawing this in front of the model. We both thought the legs askew like that are going to be better. But that's the blocking right there. And once the blocking is done and settled on, then you just go about doing more blocking in. And the blocking in part 2 is with the color. So let's see what we have as far as the blocking for the color goes. This is going to be a brick wall. She's on a wall, of course. This is how the color blocking goes. These are big chunks of pastel. These are all handmade kind of things right here. They have to be. I don't think they've ever found a way to just make them manufactured wise. They may, I suppose they may in some cases, but a lot of these are still made the old-fashioned way. So she's on a wall. I want to make the wall kind of a wall color, like a brick color. And another thing I want is this, if I can find the right color here. Yeah, that's the right color. It's black. So we're going to have this super extended cast shadow because the light's coming from up. Is it camera B now or camera C? Camera C. I knew that. So dramatic lighting, everyone knows one of the ways to get it is to do an extreme upshot. And the lighting will follow from that. Can you hear that scraping sound right there? It's almost as fun as that sparkling drop of Schweppes essence. So this is how you block it in right here. You don't have to be tight about it. You can keep it loose. I always keep things loose in the beginning. So slowly but surely, Spider Gwen is going to be coming to life here as we begin the block in session here of getting her situated here with her lighting.
We got some comments.
We got some comments. Is this one from Australia or New Zealand? Because I'm really big on my wombats these days.
Okay. So someone says you're not 65, and someone else says, can we get a shot of your bookshelves?
Okay.
I'd like to see what books you have.
So I'm curious, since I'm really big into recruiting some female fans that I haven't had for the last 40 years. Thank you for the compliment. I am indeed 65. Good genes. It surely isn't good eating. I do go to the gym just twice a week. I have a personal trainer. I've gotten lazy over the years. I found the girl. I don't have to go to bars anymore to pick them up. So I just sit here in the studio every day, and I go to the gym twice a week. And but thank you. The bookshelves. Yeah, you want to take them on a tour, Mr. Producer, of the bookshelves, and we'll show them what we got here. So that was the question. It was, I don't look my age, thank you, and let's take a look at the bookshelves here. Some of you will notice the animal books up there. You see those animal books? A lot of guys that walk in the studio say, oh, I've got those animal books, which is a real good thing. Remember I was talking about a reference earlier? Well, okay, there you go. I mentioned wombats. I am not going to be drawing wombats out of my head anytime soon. So out come the books on wombats. And if I need a wallaby or a Tasmanian devil, the books. Don't be afraid of the books, guys. You can't be an artist without reference. Do I have to repeat that? I will if I have to. Here comes the cast shadow of the hand right here. The thwip hand, as I would call it. And this one comes way up like that. Of course, we have to get rid of that for the hand. This is how it works for me, guys. I think I'm also going to add a couple things here that I did in my little rough. I added these super perspective shadows right here. That means I have to add some more stuff on her like this. I have to obscure her pretty little form. The model that posed for this stuff is 21. I remember being 21. They say that girls mature a lot faster than boys. I can confirm that. Trying to think how much of a mess I was at 21. Actually, I would call that a hopeless mess. But I never followed the crowd. I couldn't stand following the crowd. Well, all my high school friends were drinking, and we didn't have drugs up in Escanaba, Michigan. It was too small of a town. Those people just drank. And I had a friend named Bob Olson, a really cool guy. I always liked Bob, and I'm still in touch with him on and off. And I just said, Bob, why do you drink? He says, well, so I can talk to girls. Makes sense, right? I didn't have to worry because I was too shy to talk to him. But when I did get around to it, I had this weird flood of self-confidence come around at a certain age. And I never looked back. So this is the process right here, everyone. Now you notice there's a lot of grain coming through right here. You can use your finger, and I can use it because this is very low grain sanded paper right here. Or you can just use your trusty everyday paper towel. I also notice that when I do this, it kind of compromises the black a lot. See, that's a big word, compromise. It makes it lighter than I want it to. The Gwen costume, you know, she's black. She's black for the most part here. And she's white up here. You guys don't mind if I get carried away for a moment, do you? She's white up here. And she's going to have some shadows in her face. And she's, if I remember this right from, now this is going to be in shadow, of course, but for right now, I'm just going to be stubborn and do this part of it right here. Be prepared to have this happen to your hands. Nobody gets away with doing a pastel without needing to jump in a huge tub of water directly afterwards. White does not go over black unless you erase the area. I suggest that you get used to that. Pastel is a beautiful medium. I actually started to use pastel, oh God, when was it? It was, let's see, I moved in '88, probably around 1992 or so. So I was officially moved into Pasadena by then. And she's got these silly blue slippers on her, which I think are kind of silly. And they're kind of this aqua color. Fortunately, we have aqua right here. They're like ballet slippers. I'll try not to hold it against her. I asked her how she shoots these webs, and the model just said, out of her hands. Well, of course, silly of me to ask. Oh, let's see. All right, we'll just wrap it up from there for now. I think you guys are getting bored. Pardon me a moment while I go and jump in a pool of water. The Dude Show will continue in a few minutes. But they really want to see this. I was going to suggest that the producers take this away, but clearly they're a little gun shy. Now, if I paid them a little more, if I actually paid them, period, that might be a different story. I'm a little reluctant to do this, but we just got a new addition to the family right here. She's hiding underneath here. You notice the white furry form directly underneath there? Well, that's the new addition. Her name is Kirby. His name is Kirby, but we have so many she animals around here. Speaking of animals, are you ready for the question of the week? Okay, that's a resounding yes. A lot of you know that Flowhard, the animal that comes in here every now and then and wants to grab camera time, just for the sake of a milk bone, is my second blowhard that I call him. But the first was the one I grew up with, my childhood blowhard dog. And so the question of the week is the following. And whoever gets this right gets a free sketch, okay? It's not going to be the Sistine Chapel. It's going to be something fairly quick, but it's going to be accurate because I insist that it be accurate. Otherwise, nobody would want it. So the question, cue the music. Do we have the music cue here? Is that a shake of the head? Oh boy, this is simply not, this is not okay. We got to work on the production end of things here. The question is, what breed of animal, of dog, was my first blowhard? I can hear the imaginary ticking in my head right here. So while you guys are doing your little mind tricks here, thinking of what kind of breed it is, I'm going to be pointing out something that I'm working on right now that I'm having a blast with, actually.
Yeah, someone says they could watch or listen to you all day.
Someone had the good, someone had the misfortune of saying they could listen to me all day. So Boy, this guy really needs some therapy here. I had the good fortune of doing something smart for once here. I have a lot of script changes going on the Thune World book. Okay, the battle for, no, that's a very nice thing for him to say, thank you. There's a lot of changes in the dialogue, as you have been informed from time to time on, on my latest project, the Battle for Thune World. So, if you can get a glimpse of this right here, and I don't get a hernia, you can see the amount of pages that goes into this 100-page volume of Thune World. Now, if you guys have seen The Coming of Gormando, and for the especially lucky that have bought the oversized volume of The Coming of Gormando, which I don't have hanging around for once, you know what you're in for the second volume of Nexus right here. And these volumes are going to be ongoing. I'm just going to continue doing them, so I don't have to do the transgender stuff that Marvel is probably going to do till the cows come home. Really, is Captain America meant to be a female transgender? So the smart thing that I did here was I made up a lettering guide. So with all the changes that I'm doing on this book right here, I had to make up a lettering guide, and so when I make a mistake, which is like every 5 minutes, I have to re-letter the dialogue that I've made changes on. When I re-letter it, I cut it out and I paste it on here. You can see some of the paste-ons going right here. And the rest of the book I haven't got around to, but I'm going to refer to my new script. And referring to this, I'm going to re-letter some of the passages that could be done a little better, and I'm going to paste them in. And by the time I get all done, I'll be a real writer, and you guys will see when you actually see the finished volume here. I'm having so much fun with this thing. I'm trying to think if I've ever had a better time, and other than the various invites to, I keep mentioning the Playboy Mansion all the time. Other than a few of those, and the trip down the Colorado River with Mike Barron and a couple other guys back in the mid-'80s. Oh, that was so much fun. We almost got killed doing that, drowned and killed. But other than that, it was a lot of fun. And so this is my big thing. And the money you guys donate for the Kickstarter stuff, production has just brought up a very important item right here that I want to show you guys, because I always show you guys. And here it is. Ta-ta-da-da. You see me exercising with it. The times I don't go to the gym with a personal trainer, this is the book I exercise with. You can see it's really thick. It's really big, and it's got everything you guys could ever want. I've been talking to you guys about self-publishing. Well, this is what I'm telling you guys to do. This is what I myself am doing. I am self-publishing. I think the cost of this book was $160,000, Mr. Producer.
Yeah.
Give or take a couple thousand. Okay, so it's a little expensive, right? But you will never get anything but what I expect these things to turn out like. They're going to be what you expect, and nothing less. These books aren't going to fall apart because they're glued in this part of it. Yeah, brain, the spine, of course, right there. We all knew that. The spine is saddle stitched. None of these pages are ever going to come apart. You'll have this for the rest of your life. I'll have several of these for the rest of my life. Some are going to the sillies. Some are going to stay with me. So, are you guys getting bored of looking at this stuff? Because I keep talking about this here. Here's the actual version right here, the colored version. The pencils right here. Some of you guys are really interested in seeing how tight people draw. This is as tight as I draw right here. And then from there, once you pencil it, you have to letter it. Lettering comes before the inking, because you don't want to back yourself into a very odd corner. Here's me getting ahead of myself and doing some inking anyway. Shame on me. Then we go all the way to the finished page before it gets colored. That's what it looks like before it gets sent off to the colorist. So all the lettering, all the typeset lettering that I want, these are all things that I just kind of see in my head. The class acts that I'm not beholden to any company to enforce. If I see it in my head and I want it to look a certain way, it gets done. People yell and scream at me for making them do extra work, but so be it. Zipatone, isn't that great? Of course, they don't make it anymore. Shame on them. But we have to make our own, and if I run out of it, I'll find a way to keep making more of it, because it is so fun to put this stuff on. It goes back to my my early days in comics in the 1980s. Everyone used Zipatone, and I want to keep using it. No.
Right, so someone said, dude,
Zipatone.
if Jack Kirby were live streaming, would you stop watching him?
If Jack Kirby were live streaming,
Would you ever get tired of watching him?
would ever get tired of watching him? Well, since he's not live streaming, I couldn't really answer that. I just you know, we'll set this aside for a second here. I really don't know. I mean, your idols are your idols. And sometimes you don't want to invade the personal aspects of their life. Sometimes I think there's too much of a good thing sometimes. I think there's such a thing as just enough. It's like baby bear's bed. Or is it mama bear's? Which one is it that's just right?
Baby bear.
Baby bear's bed. Yeah, he had just the right kind of bed. So when it comes to those kind of things, you don't want to know every little detail about somebody's life. There has to be some sense of privacy. Like, for example, nobody wants to know what kind of pajamas I wear to bed. Well, they're striped and sometimes they have spots on them, but do you really want to know that? What's that?
The kitten sleeping behind you.
Yeah, the worthless animal here has been sleeping behind me. She's nothing but trouble. And when she really gets under my skin and on my nerves, okay, that's a cure-all for the worthless dicks of the world. She's crazy. We call her Monkey because she acts like she's insane. She claws up our pants. Sometimes, if there's no pants on, she still does it. She crawls up my back when I'm working. And to her, that's all fine and dandy. But only to her. So I think that there's a just enough quotient in life. But you know, I tell you, when you went over to Jack's house, as opposed to other artists, a lot of artists are really funny about people coming into their studio, and I don't really understand that. They get really cold-shouldered about it, and they get kind of defensive, like, oh no, you're not coming over my studio. Again, I don't understand that because I'm nothing like that. I invited anyone over if they want to see something, because I kind of hold it under the umbrella of if they want to learn something, if they don't come, they're not going to learn anything. If they want to see how a studio is set up in the particular way that I set it up, I'm right-handed, so everything is kind of to the right of me. The stuff to my left, I need that because I'm overflowing with a need for benches and tables and things like that. You need good lighting. This is, if you look up here, this is state-of-the-art lighting that I've got at every one of my stations except my Pastel one. Once we get a few more contributions for a couple $1,000s, I may set up some lighting over there. And oh, by the way, if you see on the far wall over there, far wall, camera B, far wall, camera B, that is an actual original Andrew Loomis right there. Study in blue. That's his blue period right there. And the irony of that painting right there is that it's the actual reproduction size of that painting was probably about 4 inches by 5 inches. And look at the size of that original. It is massive. And that is not uncommon of the size people worked during that period. That is the one and only Andrew Loomis that I own. but other artists that I relish, I have actually much more of that. But just to have one Loomis, I remember some of the guys from the school, the Calabasas school, that that were teachers over there. I said, "Look, guys, I finally got my hands on an actual original Loomis," and they came running over there. We all studied it for a long time, and we noticed were things that Loomis did that were artistic license just to make it better, just for the sheer artistry of it, and where he veered from the reference, which I didn't see, but you could tell where he veered because he was an expert at what he did, and this the idealization that always went on in his people, and that's where I learned so much of what I did from him. You can also see Captain Kirk. You can see me and Gino Ginelli, and you can see me in a horse. So getting back to this right here, we were going through the these massive books that are really going to be the rest of my natural life. Fortune teller told me I'd be living till I'm 81, 65. Do the math. So I think that is it for now, right now. For now. And is there anything I am supposed to be bringing up?
We have guesses on the dog, and then we can.
Aha! You thought you'd get out of that, huh? Or I thought I'd get out of that. So the guesses for the blowhard for my childhood favorite friend named Ram are.
First one was German Shepherd.
German Shepherd. So that's the first guess. I need a big thumbs up sign or a thumbs down sign. Okay, I'm just going to go. So the next that one was incorrect, but the next one is Kryptonian. Kryptonian would be crypto, and that would be a white blowhard that looks like a lab. That's a very good guess because I happen to have a soft spot for white blowhards that are labs. So what's number 3 here? So far we have 2 guesses that are incorrect. So let's hear the third one.
Golden Lab.
A golden lab. I call those golden doldens. It's see, I make up names for things. Maybe you guys have kind of picked up on that. Those are golden doldens. I call them doldens. If it's a black lab, it's a black dolden. These are golden doldens. So I'm afraid we're kind of getting to the end here. That's 3 missed guesses right here. Well, we have 2 more to go. So let's hear the 4th one.
Basset Hound.
Basset Hound. How did you guys know I love Basset Hounds? Now remember the names I call things. What is it I call Basset Hounds, production people?
Hound Dog.
Hound Dog. No, I don't call them Hound Dogs. I call them Ralphs. Ralphs. Back in Escanaba High School, there was a Basset Hound that came around everyone's garbage stop. And his name was Ralph. So from then on, every Basset Hound I ever met is called Ralph. So 4 down, 1 to go. What is it?
Beagle. Dwayne Muth.
Dwayne is either psychic or he has read a lot of biomaterial on me. So we got a winner. Dwayne Muth has won the contest. Dwayne is going to be getting a free sketch from me, the humble dude, not of a beagle, but that is the correct guess. He's going to probably get a character from Nexus that will be mailed off to him shortly. That is the guess. It is actually Ram with her name, not a real name. I don't call anything by their real name. I think Ram came from rambunctious. So I called her Ram, and Ram was my best friend for 15 years. She was, in fact, a beagle. Like Snoopy. Beagles in the grass, alas. So congratulations to Dwayne. You've got a free sketch coming your way. I think I've covered everything for this live stream on Sunday for today at the Rude Dude Central. Do we have any more questions, and do we have any more things to go over, production crew here? Now settle down over there. I mean, there's a lot of rumbling and mumbling going on. I can't really hear myself I think here. So
any upcoming conventions or appearances?
All right, so I'm beholden to repeat what I've heard from the production staff here that are just really crowding me in this area here. You see me sitting here with, plenty of free space around me, but if you were to turn these cameras around, the whole thing is like a recording studio with Phil Spector. It just goes on forever. Any conventions coming up? Conventions or shop appearances, was it?
Yeah, or any appearances.
Well, the only appearance that is coming up is next weekend, actually, at the Atomic Comics place in Gilbert. And that is going to be, if you guys tuned in earlier, you saw me working on this pastel sketch of Spider-Gwen. And I actually had a live model to work from for that, which is so refreshing instead of just making this crap up out of my head. I actually had a live model in costume, and that makes it so much easier. So and of course, if it's so much easier, it makes it twice as fun. So that's going to be a blast. I can't wait to do that. And we'll have maybe 30, 40 people showing up for that, along with the imported hors d'oeuvres, which I mentioned earlier. And the best part about this appearance is that they've got gourmet root beer there. Not only a gourmet root beer, no tongue twister there, but 7 varieties of gourmet root beer. Now these guys are promised, in lieu of payment, that I will walk away with cases of these 7 varieties of gourmet root beer, none of which I've heard the name brands from before. They're all new to me, and boy, am I going to take advantage of that. So Spider-Gwen, hors d'oeuvres, imported, incredibly rare root beer for the dude here. So let's wrap it up for right now. Dwayne, you got a sketch coming for guessing it was a beagle. And someday I'll show you a picture of rambunctious, okay? Maybe next Sunday. Don't forget, we've got this new thing going on that the producers have insisted that we do. And that is every Monday and every Friday, we're responsible for putting on new things on YouTube. Does that include the TikTok thing too? I'm getting the nod from the second associate producer here that it's also going to go on TikTok, because the more fans we have, and the more female fans that I want, the better the world's going to be. One of the female producers here is giving me a look that I don't want to repeat here, but it's pretty severe. So until next time, you guys know the score. The more money you denote and revolt and send in, the more I can keep working on my life's goal, which is more Nexus material. So I really appreciate that. Why wouldn't I, right? So thanks for tuning in. For those of you who have not tuned in, you can see this later on at YouTube and at Rude Dude Central, which is the place where we always broadcast these things from, in sunny Arizona. Thank God it's cloudy today, so that's a much better way to photograph these live streams here. So we'll see you for next time. I'll see you next Sunday, and look for stuff on Monday and Friday. And if you've got any ideas on what you'd like to see for these YouTube videos, send in your ideas, because if there are things that I like to talk about and think that they'd be fun to show, whether they're watercolor or they're ink drawings or they're any number of the things that you guys may like what I do, or things that you would like to see me do that I haven't done yet. Write those things in, and I will check them out. They'll obviously go through a 20-person filtering system first with the producers of the show here, and when they eventually get to me, if they haven't been crossed out, I'll take them very seriously and give them all due consideration. So until next time, go Nexus, and go Thune World, and go paste in lettering when I screw up. Till next time, bye-bye.